everyone, I hope you're all doing really well. Today I'm going to be sharing with you the 8th and final update for my Pan Those Eyeshadows project pan. The next video in this series will be the finale for 2021, and then I will be kicking off a new round of this project in 2022, and I'm really excited to do that. Super excited. I love this project so much, but it's always nice to start with a brand new, fresh start in a new year. I was kind of debating for a while whether I wanted to do that or not, but I've come to the decision that I'm just ready to kind of start anew with the beginning of the new year, and I'm really looking forward to it. If you're not familiar with this project pan, this project was started by my friend Alexi. I will have all of her information linked down in the description box so you can go and check her out. She kicked off this project many years ago, and she did it in a very different way than I do myself. Everybody kind of customizes this project and does it in their own way, but the core goal with it is to hit pan on as many eyeshadows as possible. And generally they're randomized. Some people don't randomize. I personally have all of my eyeshadows in a tiny decisions wheel, and I randomize my eyeshadows that way, and I just try to hit pan on them. If it's a shadow that I know I'm not going to be able to hit pan on, or I'm not really feeling inspired by it, I have to use it a minimum of 15 times before I can roll it out of this project. And I don't always roll things out at that 15 minimum threshold. However, it is something that I like to give myself the opportunity to do because I really just want to hit pan on eyeshadows. And if something is just not going to get me to that goal, then I'm just going to roll it out of this project. So yeah, let's hop on into all the progress that I've made in this past month or so. But before we do, I just want to note that the background obviously has changed. I'm sure you have become very aware of that by this point. There's going to be some fluctuation in the coming few uploads. I haven't really decided how I want to set up this space, which is so funny because I have lived in this house for a few months now. We moved at the end of June. I had it set up. I did a studio tour video, and recently I've just been feeling like it's not quite right. So I did a little bit of a rearrange yesterday. I'm still not totally convinced that it's accurate. So you're gonna see some things changing, especially with the way that I dress things up. Obviously there's nothing going on back here right now. But yeah. That's it. I just wanted to point that out. I'm happy with the way that the space feels now. If you watched that makeup tour video, you'll remember that my desk was kind of parallel with my window, and now I'm facing kind of diagonally into the window because my desk is up against the wall as opposed to just in the middle of my room. It just wasn't feeling right for me and my lifestyle, but I definitely need to get a mirror here so that I have some light and some visibility as I am against the wall now here. But things will change in time. Whatever, it is what it is. I'm in a chatty mood, okay? Sorry, but we're gonna get on into this actual update now, okay? So here I have the color story that I was working with over the past month or so. As you can see, this was quite cohesive. There definitely are some disjointed shades, but there's also some really great complementary kind of colors that compare very well with one another very easily. And this I would consider to be kind of like a grungy spring color story, because there are definitely these more jewel toned versions of what I would consider to be normally spring colors. These are the 5 shades that I've been working with and I've been kind of pairing together over the past month. So I will share with you looks that I've created. You'll see some of these shades in tandem as I speak about the progress that I've made. But yeah, it's actually been quite a fun and cohesive color story to work with. So the top shade I have here is this beautiful matte deep green foresty kind of shade. It comes from my UOMA Beauty Black Magic Allure palette, which is a stunning fall palette. So it's been an absolute treat to reach for. I have had this in this project now, I believe, for 4 updates, and previous to today's update, I had reached for it a total of 17 times throughout those past few months. I've now reached for an additional 8 times, bringing me to 25 uses in this eyeshadow, and I have not yet hit pan on it. So there you go. You can see there's a serious dip happening in there. There's definitely a lot of wear. However, I still have not hit pan on it in 25 uses. I have reached for it a heck of a lot though, but primarily I reach for it as a deepening kind of shade, so on my outer corner or on my outer portion of my lower lash line, sometimes as an eyeliner. But as of recently, I've been kind of trying to throw it all over the lid and then layer something on top of it just to make more kind of concentrated effort on it and use more product. And I do think it's really perfectly seasonal right now to kind of wear it in that sort of way, but it can feel a little bit heavy on my small hooded eyes. But it's been really fun to reach for this palette as a whole. I know I'm covering up 2 of the shades, so you can't really see the entirety of this palette, but one of the other shades is in this project, so I kind of want to just leave that covered up. Even though I've been working on this type of shade a lot this year, I have been really enjoying it because this just allows me to continue to play with greens. Like, I've figured out so many different greens in my collection and golds in my collection to pair this with, and so it's been a lot of fun for me. And the next shade to share with you is this one right here. This is a like berry kind of shade. It's kind of like a red based purple. Fuchsia kind of tone. It's a really gorgeous color, but it's definitely not my go-to kind of color. So I've had this in this project for several months, and I've definitely had a lot of a challenge in reaching for it and figuring out ways to wear it. I am wearing it all over my lids today. And then I have a metallic layered on top of it, and I think that it's really pretty. This comes from the ColourPop Pretty Much palette, which I've depotted. I have depotted all of my ColourPop palettes and just put them into a magnetic palette together. And this shade was called Cool It, or is called Cool It. It's a really gorgeous color. It's just not my go-to kind of shade. So previous to today's update, I had reached for it a total of only 11 times, even though I had it in this project for several months. And I've reached for an additional 5 times, bringing me to a total of 16 uses, which I think is pretty good considering it has been a challenging shade for me. So it's this color right here at the bottom of this quad. I have put it into this quad to kind of get some more inspiration to layer it with different shades and play with it in combination with different colors from my collection of singles, and it's been really fun to have it in this palette. This has kind of changed from month to month depending on what I'm feeling inspired and excited about, but recently I have really fallen in love with using ColourPop Glass Bull, which is a pressed powder shadow, on top of many shades in my collection. One day I just felt like I wanted to see what this looked like on top of the purple so I can make it maybe a bit more bronzy or maybe a bit more bluey, just because purple is a bit abrupt on me. I don't find it to be the most flattering. I just don't feel super compelled by it. So I decided I wanted to layer it with Cool It, and I loved it, and that's what I'm wearing today. I really like it. I think this is a really fun combination of shades. It makes ColourPop Glass Bull, which I've always found really underwhelming, it makes it a lot more impactful and fun. And then Cool It, it definitely just tones it down and makes it a little bit more interesting as well. So as you can see, obviously, I have not hit pan on Cool It. There is a little bit of a dip happening now, which I'm happy about. I did try to use it as like a smudgy liner a few times, so that's definitely how I've created that bit of a crater in it, and I have gotten a little bit of hard pan through using it that way as well. But seeing as I've now reached for it 16 times in this project, I am going to be rolling it out today. I'm just kind of ready to move on from it. I found a way that I really enjoy using it with Glass Bull. I've layered it with other metallics as well, but Glass Bull has been my absolute favorite way to pair it. But I'm just ready to move on from it, work on something else for a month, and just kind of get re-inspired by a different shade. I don't imagine that if I roll it out, I'll be able to hit pan on something new, but possibly I could roll in something that allows me that opportunity, because I'd have to use this at least 14 or 15 more times to be able to get anywhere near hitting pan on it, given that that's how I used ColourPop Spoiled, which was previously in this project. I used it 30 total times in this project in order to hit pan. I just know I will not reach for this 15 times in the next month. My next focus shade is this matte mustard color, which you know, I love yellows, I love greens, so this mustard has been just so much fun to have in this project pan. I've really enjoyed having it in the past couple updates. It comes from my ABH Subculture palette, which is unfortunately a discontinued palette, but I think you can find this at Winners sometimes, or sometimes on the ABH website, I believe. I adore this palette. It's been so nice to reach for this over this past couple months because this is just an amazing fall palette in my opinion. It's like one of my fall favorites to reach for. This color story is extremely inspiring and exciting to me. And previous to today's update, I had reached for the shade Edge 8 times in this project pan, so not a ton, but I think that was only through one update alone. And then now I've reached for an additional 7 times, so kind of keeping it on par, and that is a total of 15 uses in this project. And on that 15th use, I was able to hit the teeniest bit of pan on it. I'm not even sure that you'll be able to see that in the video. You might just see the tiny fleck of pan there, but I did hit pan on it after that 15th use. I haven't reached for it since then. I just decided it was time to put away this palette for a short while because it definitely is looking very well loved. I have really enjoyed reaching for this palette through this project. I focused on the shade Untamed and the shade Edge both in this project this year, and it's been so fun to reach for this palette. So much fun. But I am looking forward to kind of just putting it away and moving on to something else. I really want to try to hit pan on palettes that I haven't hit any pan on yet and make some progress on them. So hopefully I can roll in something in its place that fits that desire, but we'll see. We'll see what ends up being randomized. This second to last shade here in the lineup is one that I rolled in my last update. It's a beautiful like lilac kind of metallic. It definitely has a tiny bit of a pinky flip. It's a really beautiful color, but again, purples are just not entirely my thing. It does come from the ABH Norvina Volume 1 palette, which is very much a purple centric palette. Like there's a lot of pops of purple in here, so I'm doomed to work on purples because I have purples in my collection, but for some reason, whenever I kind of roll one in, I'm a little disappointed, but yeah. Obviously, I shouldn't be buying purple eyeshadows if I don't want to get use out of them. And the shade that I'm working on in this palette is A1. I've had it in the project only for a month, as I said, so I've used it a total of 9 times, which I'm really happy with. This palette, however, it's impossible to hit pan on these shades in only like a month's time. They take a lot of effort. So this is A1 right here. There's barely a dip starting to happen in it. In fact, I don't even know if you'll be able to see any sort of discernible wear. The white shade I've used a lot over this past month because I used it for a couple different Halloween kind of looks as I was just playing around this past month. But yeah, the purple I did actually use for a nail polish. My manicure's not looking so great anymore, but I used it as a nail polish and I really enjoyed it in that way. And I'll probably use it again that way in the coming month just to be able to make more usage on it, but still not looking that well loved. I can't recall the number of uses I had to use these 2 shades in order to hit pan on them, but I remember them being quite high for me. So yeah, I don't imagine I'll be able to hit pan on that by the end of this year, but I'm gonna keep working on it and hopefully match the number of uses that I made over this past month. I am wearing it today as my inner corner highlight a little bit to kind of make this look slightly like a halo. I have it just in the very center of my lid, and then I also have it on my brow bone, and I've been using it kind of in those sorts of placements a lot this past month with purples and bronzes and browns and that kind of shade selection. So it has been a lot of fun to reach for, definitely out of my norm and like definitely not the kind of shade that I would reach for independently, but it has been really fun to enhance looks for sure. So I've been enjoying it quite a lot. And the final shade that I have here is like a light gold kind of color. It's a really beautiful highlighting sort of shade that I can wear with a lot of warm toned eye looks and just use it sort of in the same ways that I've been using A1. And it comes from my Black Magic Allure palette from UOMA Beauty. The shade in here is called Lady of Gold, and I did just roll it in my last update, but I've reached for it 11 times since I rolled it in. So there is a decent amount of progress happening on it. I don't know with the type of shade if you'll be able to even see the progress, but there definitely is, it's this one right here, definitely is a dip starting to happen in it, and I'm surprised because it's only been 11 uses and it is the kind of shade that I've not been wearing like all over my lid. But given that it's a metallic, I guess it just has a slightly different formula than Lush, because I feel like it has more of a dip in it than Lush does after 25 uses. So yeah, I feel like I might actually be able to hit pan on this by the finale. That would be amazing. That would be so nice, because I feel like I've been working on this palette for quite a while at this point, and it still is looking, you know, it's definitely looking used because there's a lot of kickback happening, but it's not looking as loved as I'd hope to see it at this point. So yeah, I'm gonna keep on working on it over this next month, and hopefully I'll be able to hit pan on Lady of Gold and Lush. That would be so super cool to be able to hit pan on both of those. So we're going to be rolling in 2 new shades to focus on in this project pan. I'm really excited to roll in these, even though I may not be able to hit pan on them in only a month's time. It would be nice to just have some new variety. So the first item that I'm going to be rolling in is going to be from the ColourPop Dream Street palette. As I said, I have that depotted, so it's the shade Stardust. I think that's a metallic. And then the other one that I'm going to be working on, I decided I'm not gonna like roll this a few times, comes from my Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. It's the shade Imperia. So I'll be right back to share with you what those new roll-ins are. So I removed the swatches of the shades that I'm going to be rolling out of this project, and so I want to see what I'm going to be adding to this now pared down kind of color story. The first item that I selected was from the ColourPop Dream Street palette, which I have depotted, as I said previously. Again, I'm working on a depotted ColourPop shade. It seems to be like my fate to work on these, but the shade is called Stardust, and I honestly don't remember which shade it is, so I'm gonna have to peruse. I hope that it's not one that I ended up decluttering, because I did kind of decide to go through and remove some of the redundancies, like the shades that were duplicates from here. It actually just took a moment because I just went to the metallics first. So this is Stardust. It's kind of like a bronzy, kind of coppery sort of shade. So definitely the kind of shade that I can wear with a lot of different looks, I'm sure of it. And in fact, I'm working on ColourPop Lala in, oh, that's really underwhelming. I'm working on ColourPop Lala in my 30 by 30, and I could definitely pair this with it, but I don't think you can tell from there. It is very flaky, and it definitely is a little bit disappointing in terms of its formula. I have had this for several years at this point, so a little bit disappointed in the way that that one's swatched. I don't remember it being quite as loose and flaky as it was, but I'm sure a glitter glue will just do just fine to be able to get some use out of this. So not a problem. I will reach for it over the coming month and familiarize myself with it and determine whether it's something I want to keep in my collection. The swatch looks absolutely beautiful, but the way that it felt wasn't that impressive. And then the next shade that I have picked out comes from the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette. This is currently in my 30 by 30 project pan as well, so I don't want to share with you kind of what it's looking like, but I guess I have to. That's okay. But the shade that I selected, I haven't even looked at. I have no idea. Imperia. Ooh. All right. So I'll share with you what this palette is looking like. But this is the shade Imperia, which is like a greenish kind of gold shade. Definitely more yellow, but it definitely has a tiny bit of a greeny undertone, and that is going to look so good with Lush. I think I've actually paired these together because I am focusing on Metropolis and trying to get use out of it. I'm pretty sure I've worn these together with Telepathy as well from ColourPop. But yeah, I'm really impressed with this color story. This is my kind of color story for sure. We're moving more towards these like earthy, grungy kind of colors, which is totally my vibe, and phasing out the pinks and the purples and the bright colors. This is so fun for me. I'm gonna have a blast working on these shades in the coming month. I don't expect I'll be able to hit pan on any of my new roll-ins, but possibly one of these or both of these two from UOMA will be ones that I'll be able to hit pan on. Hopefully by the next update. But yeah, that is absolutely everything for today's video. I'm really excited for the new color story. Definitely let me know how you would be wearing these shades if you had these selected for yourself. That is everything. Thank you so much for watching and for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye everyone.